Go ahead.
Welcome into another edition of Press Box Live. I guess we can call these special editions. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. And with me is Luke Jackson, the managing editor of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. Luke, you said it before we went on the air, but I'll use it. Mike Elias, are you going up and
Yeah,
down
yeah,
the
I'm
house?
I'm adjusting. I'm
Okay.
adjusting a
All right,
little
all
bit,
right.
and I
Moving
think we're all
things
right now.
around. But you said it. Mike Elias is keeping us busy and giving us a lot to talk about. The Orioles strike with a big trade today, acquiring Shane Baz from the Tampa Bay Rays. And we, in turn, give up Slater DeBrun,
Hmm.
outfielder, first round pick, Michael Farrett, who's a 21-year-old right hander of some promise, Caden Bodine, number one pick, and an outfielder,
Austin O'Vern.
Austin O'Vern, and a comp pick, an A round. And that means it's like our first comp pick
Yeah, it's in the 30s.
in the 30s. Okay, so that's a significant haul. But what's your take on what we got back in Shane Baz?
Well, truth be told, you've probably watched Shane Baz more than I have over the past year and a half since he's come back from Tommy John. But he's a huge arm. There's no question about it. And my first take, quick take, when I first heard about the deal was that the Orioles were basically getting a version of Grayson Rodriguez who is more ready to help them as a starting pitcher in 2026. So Shane Baz had Tommy John surgery, I believe, in 23.
Yep.
Came back in the middle of 24, got some work in, and then he had a full season as a starter last year. Got through the season healthy, 31 starts. Performance was up and down. Really struggled at Steinbrenner Field, and we could talk about that later. But he got through the season healthy, and that's probably what Tampa Bay was mostly concerned about.
Yeah.
It's a huge arm, and like I said, it's basically a different version of Grayson Rodriguez for me.
It's a flip of, and it seems to me the two key players in the deal for Tampa, along with the competitive balance pick, are Michael Farrett, the pitcher, who looks to be one of the better pitching prospects the Orioles have had come through the system in the last 8 or 10 years, I think. And the outfielder Slater DeBron, who was a top pick last year, was a number one pick. Um, Shane Baz, just so you know, and you pretty much probably know this, at home at Steinbrenner Field in 82 innings, he pitched to a 5.9 ERA with a 140 whip, gave up a batting average of 271, on base percentage 338, slug 429, and an OPS of 827. Away from Steinbrenner Field last year in 84 innings pitched, he had a pitch to a 3.86 ERA. That's two full runs less. 227 average, 312 on base, 373 slug, 686. He also gave up 18 home runs at Steinbrenner Field, with he just gave up 8 away from Steinbrenner Field. For the season, one of the key things coming back from Tommy John surgery, his first full season back, he threw 166 innings, struck out 176 batters. He did walk 64, which has not really been his MO all through his career in the minors. But I think your comparison, not that they're exactly the same pitcher, but he's certainly a Grayson Rodriguez with more certainty out of
Right.
what you're going to get in 2026.
Yeah, he's a huge arm. He's up to 100, and he has to still harness his stuff. He
Yeah.
still has to put together a big time season over the course of a full season, which he hasn't really done yet. So, but he's really talented. And I mean, I've always loved watching him pitch because the arm strength is extreme. The curveball is great.
Did you see him
And
much in the minors when
I
he came
didn't.
through?
I
Okay.
didn't. Uh,
A lot of people forget he was part of the trade that took place on July 31st, 2018. He was drafted in 17 He was a number one pick, the 12th player taken overall by Tampa Bay. They traded him, Tyler Glasnow, and Austin Meadows for Chris Archer. So the Tampa Bay Rays have a habit of extracting some pretty good talent when they deal a pretty good talent.
And for me, what the Orioles needed really in any starter that they acquire was going to be stuff. That's number one, because we know just from watching the rotation
Some
last
swing
year,
and miss. Some
they were
swing and
short
miss.
on velocity and they were short on swing and miss. Well, Shane Baz brings velocity in spades. Okay. And they also needed innings because you think about it, a guy who's going to be capable of throwing a lot of innings because you think about it, they're going to have to keep a little bit of an eye on Rogers because between the majors and minors last year, he was about at like 125, 130, something like that. Not a huge innings total. They're going to have to keep an eye on Bradish and they're going to have to keep an eye on Wells if they end up using him as a starter.
Right.
So, and Boz will be someone who they can just let him go. Just and because he's coming off a season where he started 31 games. So I think that he checks both of those boxes. Obviously, the results aren't what he wanted last year overall. You touched on a big reason why. For our listeners who may not know, Steinbrenner Field is basically the exact same Yankee Stadium dimensions, but it's a sweatbox down there
Yeah.
and the ball can really
Ball
fly.
flies. Yeah.
And and he was really having some struggles in that environment and on the road. It was much more in line with his career norms.
One thing I just wanted to point out to folks back in 2021. So he had been with the Tampa organization for a couple of seasons. He pitched 78 innings between Montgomery, Alabama, and Durham, North Carolina. So he only pitched 78 two-thirds innings, allowed 50 hits, 13 walks, and 113 strikeouts. Now you may say, Stan, that's ancient history.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he was such a great prospect. And that arm is still there. The one thing I wonder is whenever Tampa acquires a pitcher, we know that they can make that pitcher better.
Mm-hmm.
We know that when Justin Verlander went from the Tigers to the Astros, and they did it with a number of pitchers, they make them better. Can the Orioles improve a guy like Boz? And this is not a knock at Drew French, but can they improve a young pitcher and take them to another level?
Well, the Orioles are certainly hoping so, right?
Yeah,
But I think that, and maybe the Orioles do have ideas. As you said, it's hard to imagine that the Orioles have ideas that the Rays haven't exhausted yet. But I think it's probably more so getting him further away from Tommy John surgery.
yeah,
And I think that that's probably the biggest hope that he had surgery in 23. We're going into 26 now. He should be fully ready to go at this point to really show what he's made of. And I think that that's probably the big hope. And you've got him for 3 years. And I think he's only going to make 2, 3, 4 million, something like that,
yep,
his first year of arbitration this year. And so he's not a huge dent on the payroll. And I think it's a worthy gamble. I really do.
yeah. I do too. I think, and people that say it's a huge haul, there's two players in the deal to me, DeBron
Mhm.
and Farrett. I would have loved to have held on to Farrett, but you got to get something, you got to give up something, and there's no question that Farrett is probably 2 years away. You
Yeah,
know,
and typically those deals where it seems like a team doesn't give up much to get a big name back, typically they're taking on a huge contract.
yeah,
And in this case, that's not what happened.
not the case. Yeah, want to remind everybody, Luke and I are brought to you whenever we Zoom like this. We're brought to you by the Costa Sin. Costa Sin with two great locations: the original 4100 North Point Boulevard, and if you're interested in getting together during the holidays for steamed crabs, call them at 410-477-1975. Tell them Stan the Fan and Luke, give them thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
But crab reservations are vitally important any time of year to make sure you can get the price point you want, the size you want, and that they're available. Over in Timonium, the new location. Been open about 3 months now, doing bang up business. Stop by there during the holidays for lunch or dinner, right above the grandstand at Timonium Racecourse, right next to the OTB. Plenty of free parking, open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner. We give them four thumbs up. All right. Luke, where does this leave the Orioles now? It's been a busy offseason.
Hmm.
They picked up Kittredge, they picked up Helsley, they picked up Alonso. Who else am I missing? There's
Leody
somebody,
Taveras as like a fifth outfielder type.
Leody Taveras. We're all very excited. They tendered Ryan
There you
Mountcastle,
go.
who's a great hitter. Uh, uh, but supposedly they're in the hunt for Framber Valdez or Ranger Suarez. I don't think we're hearing the Orioles attached too much to Zach Gallen. Are these the last two guys, or is there a possibility that, remember, we thought that Kobe Mayo would go in a trade, that maybe the price tag on Valdez has gotten a little high,
Hmm.
and then the years, and they're saying, hey, maybe we can circle around and acquire a Freddie Peralta, or maybe not Edwin Cabrera, but Sandy Alcantara, and give up a package there and get that ace potential in a trade rather than a free agent.
So, okay, there's a lot to unpack there. Number one is on
Because
the
if they don't, if they do it by free agent, what the hell's going to go on with Mayo and Mountcastle?
right. So, okay, so let's break down the free agents they could get quickly. So,
Yep,
Framber Valdez has been one of the best pitchers in baseball for the past
durable,
6 years,
durable as hell.
and really steady performer. Strikes out a lot of guys, doesn't walk many, gets a lot of ground balls. Pretty much does everything you want a starter to do. There are some questions about his makeup, and there are some questions about just the age situation where he's 32 years old. That's
32.
pretty
Yeah.
old
And he's
for
looking for a 6 or 7 year deal,
right.
probably
And teams probably want to go like more like 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5.
Okay, Ranger Suarez, uh, really steady performer. He's usually good for one IL stint a year, and the velocity has trended a little bit down. And there were some times last year where he was pitching basically 89, 90 for the Phillies. And you wonder if the velocity ticks down a little bit more and he's throwing 88-mile-an-hour meatballs to AL East hitters, how does that look in 2028? You know what I mean? So I think that's the concern there. And the other one who we were texting about uh, yesterday was Ime, right?
Yeah.
Ime, Ime. His free agency has been a little bit of a mystery because he has to sign by January 2nd and he hasn't visited any teams yet. He's represented by Scott Boras. The thought was that he was going to go to the winter meetings and just meet with all the teams yet they're down in Orlando, but I think Scott was busy with a certain first baseman, getting him signed. So that didn't happen. And so, and the point being, because Christmas is next week, if Ime wants to visit teams, that's got to happen pretty quick. So probably
Do
at
you
some
think
point.
there's a possibility that Mike Elias and Scott Boras talked about Ime in their
Oh yeah.
discussions?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And but his market is pretty mysterious. We don't know who's in on him. We don't know who he's interested in.
Yep.
Uh, and he's is it's not a Yamamoto
Maybe he
situation.
made a phone call to Tamayuka Sagano
There you
to
go.
see, hey, what's Baltimore like?
So, and the other thing is that it's not a Yamamoto situation where when he signed with the Dodgers, it was clear that he was one of the best starting pitchers in the world.
Yeah.
And that's why he got the contract he got. It seems like with the numbers that have been rumored about this guy, it seems like teams might think that he's like a legit number two starter in a
Yeah.
major league rotation. And I don't know how the Orioles evaluate him. The big plus with him is that he's 27 years old.
Yep.
So you're going to get his entire prime. Whatever that is, you're going to get his entire prime. And
And
so
what do you
that's,
think you have to pay for him?
well, there's a posting fee. I don't know what that's
Which
going
is
to
a
be.
percentage, that's a percentage of the contract, isn't it now?
Or is it at this point just like I think it might be like a separate thing. I
Okay.
don't know.
Separate.
But I think
You
for the
think he's a
player,
$20 million pitcher?
I think he's going to get paid more like 26, 27 times six. Like I
Okay.
think he's going to get paid like a true number two starter.
Okay.
And so, and
Fascinating.
it depends on your evaluation. He's like 5'10".
Yeah.
So he's not a big guy,
Yep.
much like Yamamoto, not a huge
Yep.
guy. But the interesting thing about him is that he says he wants to beat the Dodgers. He doesn't want to sign with the Dodgers. He wants to beat the
Beat
Dodgers.
the Dodgers.
And
Okay.
so if he signs, say in
I'm
Philadelphia,
all for that.
yeah. So if he signs in Philadelphia, that's going to be catnip up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now the trade targets. First of all, I'm curious what the Nationals are asking for Mackenzie Gore and what the Marlins are asking for Edward Cabrera because there's in that Shane Baz sort of territory where they have.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't excite. In other words, Mackenzie Gore was a target I loved as the trade target. But now that we got Boz, I include Boz in that package of Peralta,
Mhm.
that level. Is that good enough to really dramatically change the look of that starting rotation?
See, the thing is that you just got someone in Boz who his whose peripherals are better than his actual results to this point of his
Right,
career. Okay. Do you want to double down on that with an Edward Cabrera whose
right,
stuff at this point has been better than his actual results, or
right.
like a Mackenzie Gore, another guy whose stuff has been better than his actual results? Do you want to double down on that? Do you want to triple down on that? I don't
No, I
know.
want to. I want to get a more set, a guy that I'm really confident
I think that that's what Mike Elias and David Rubenstein are probably thinking as well.
in. Okay,
And so to me, that
gets back to Framber.
I can't stress to you enough that not maybe not for the length of like a 5 or 6 year contract, but for like the first 3 years of that, Framber Valdez provides exactly what the Orioles need. You
Okay,
think about a rotation with Valdez, Bradish, Rogers, Boz,
and
Dean
Framber.
Kramer.
Yeah.
That's a major league rotation.
Is
That's
that six at like 200?
ooh.
Is it six
It's
for
in that
180?
neighborhood, and it's either like maybe 5 170, six
Yeah,
200. It's around that neighborhood. Yeah,
yeah.
you're there.
Okay, so let's just unpack one last thing on this. If they do the free agency route,
Hmm.
now we look at that roster, and you've got Basayo, who they say is going to DH and play some first base. They got Ryan Mountcastle,
Hmm.
who they say is going to play some first base and DH. And they got Kobe Mayo, who's going to play some first base and DH. To me, it looks like you got too many of those guys. And first of all, I'll be honest with you. As much as I don't like Mountcastle, if he's on the team, there's no way I'm playing Basayo at first over him on a
Right,
given day. I'm DHing Basayo.
right.
Yeah. So my point is, what do they do with that surplus there with at least one too many first basemen?
Well, one of the things that I had brought up to a buddy of mine, and I don't know if he really loved this idea, but we'll try to emphasize with you. If Kobe Mayo is not enough to net you a real starting pitcher,
Right.
like a Shane Baz that they just,
Right.
uh, how about using him to get a really talented left-handed reliever that you have under team control for like 3 or 4 years?
So are we talking now about Jojo Romero with
Well,
the
JoJo has 1 year of club control left.
So
Okay,
I'm not giving Mayo up for one
so
year.
yeah, so my what I would suggest is using him to get a really talented left-handed reliever who has 3 4 years of club control remaining.
Uh, don't hate that idea because I think they're short on a left-handed reliever,
Yeah.
and frankly, I think they're short. I have a couple slight problems with the roster construct. I'm not sold on Jeremiah Jackson as that guy that's going to be the. I
Hmm.
mentioned in my article a couple days ago,
Hmm.
Luis Rengifo
Right.
on a 1 year deal,
Right.
maybe bringing back Ramon Urias. I'm not sold that Jackson's going to give you that versatility. He did not look good at third base.
Hmm.
Didn't look great when I saw him on second. One time, I think he played second for us. Um, I don't like that, and I think the bullpen. They're missing two arms right now,
I
left-handed
will
reliever and a right-hander.
I will say this about the bullpen. If they address the starting rotation the way they should,
Yeah.
they could move Tyler Wells back to the
Tyler
bullpen.
Wells could definitely be the right-hander.
And if from the right side, if you've got Helsley, Kittredge, and Wells, and maybe
Yeah.
Kate Stroud, that's pretty good. And I think Wells could potentially be like their best relief pitcher next year. I think that's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Now, the left side, as you mentioned, needs work because from the left side,
They got
you
Aiken
got
and
Aiken
Nance.
and Dietrich Enns and like
Yeah.
Grant Wolfram.
Yeah. That's not good enough.
That's not good enough.
No.
And I think they agree with that.
Yeah. All
And
right.
and one thing I will say about Jackson, um, yeah, he does have options. So it's not as if he has to be on the opening day roster. He
Yeah.
can be in Norfolk and waiting for an opportunity.
Yeah.
So
All right. That's going to do it for this episode of Press
oh,
Box Live.
pick up
Stan the
one of these
Fan.
people.
Yeah, please do pick up. Luke has worked awfully hard on it. It's not very good, but Luke has worked awfully hard on our best of issue, as he and Jen Nelson and Glenn Clark do each and every year. It's available at over about 400 locations around town, including a bunch of Highs locations. Now that's our pickup for fast, fast food, gas, and that is Highs all around town. That's going to do it for today. Mike Elias will have a 1 o'clock presser tomorrow, is by Zoom, and I'll have something up on the site, Pressbox Online, on Monday.
Mhm.
And we wish you all a very happy holiday. I'll be on Monday at 5:30 p.m. with Mark Fine, the Chief Marketing Officer of the Baltimore Orioles, to talk about all this buzz and
Mhm.
excitement about what Mike Elias, David Rubenstein, Michael Arrighetti are affording us. And will we be out there supporting the team in significantly greater numbers in 26
I
and
tell you what, it
beyond?
is nice to be discussing the team in what like this, where they're doing things to improve the team on
Yep,
a pretty consistent basis,
no question
and
about
it heats up the winter, so to speak.
it. Yeah. And I think it puts to shame a lot of people who around town, media and fans who were saying that Mike Elias was some sort of idiot, or he didn't know what the hell he was doing, or that the club, David Rubenstein, wasn't going to be let loose with some money. I think it shuts them down and their points of view down, and makes them look rather foolish, to be. Agreed or disagree?
No, I'll just keep it there, man.
Okay. All right. You're not sold on Mike Elias. I can tell.
No, I never said
I'm
anything
kidding.
like
I'm
that.
kidding.
I think he's done
All
a
right.
hell of a job this winter.
Yeah, he has done a very, very nice job. But I agree with you that left-handed relief pitcher is an absolute must. And I agree with you that if they do add the fifth starter, that Tyler Wells sits there as a right-handed option. And I also agree, Luke. I think Cade Povich still has a good chance to make the team as the long man out of the bullpen
I think
and
Cade,
a spot starter.
I think Cade could be how think about how AJ Hinch uses his lefty relievers in Detroit,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
he'll use like Brant Herter for 2 innings at a time.
yeah.
I think Cade could fill that role very effectively. I think he's a major league arm. He just really runs into a wall once he sees hitters a third time.
Yeah.
And I think in relief, he could really help out the squad in the way and sort of like a multi-inning reliever type from the left side.
All right.
Like following a right-handed starter, say Dean Kramer goes 4 innings, has a little bit of a short start. You got a lot of left-handed hitters in the
In
lineup.
the lineup.
You bring in Cade for 2 innings, and then that forces the other manager to make decisions.
And then suddenly you got Kittredge, Helsley, and a
Yep,
couple of these other
yep,
guys.
yep.
All right. That's going to do it. We thank the Costas in. Wish everybody out there in our audience, our viewing audience, a happy holiday. For Luke Jackson, I'm Stan the Fan Charles. Have a great weekend, everybody.